You're right there. Some of you may find this hard to believe, but I'm actually a very angsty person. There's a lot of things that really irk me. Now, if you've been watching my stuff, you'll be thinking, who's this handsome, good-looking, suave, witty, smooth-talking young man? He can't possibly be angsty, but there are a lot of things that really piss me off. And if any of you have watched my slavery rant, I think you'll have had a taste of the angst bubbling beneath the surface. This video is going to be the first of about 7,000, I foresee, just where I discuss little things that kind of just get under my skin. In this one, I just want to talk about foreign names. What do I mean by that? Specifically, I mean, okay, Roma, Cote d'Ivoire. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's people who use the foreign name for a foreign place. It really gets on my nerves. Not because they're using a foreign term in and of itself, but when there's an English term. Okay, now let me try and explain this. Then, whenever I hear anyone say, "Oh yes, in the Cote d'Ivoire they do it this way," it always makes me cringe because Cote d'Ivoire is French. It's the French name. They speak French in the Ivory Coast. Cote d'Ivoire means Ivory Coast in French. It's the French name for the Ivory Coast. Now, some people will say to me, "Brian, why are you such a snob? It's called the Cote d'Ivoire. Why are you forcing your English names on it?" But that really pisses me off because you're not forcing anything on it. I mean, in Germany, well, I mean, I don't know German, so that was a bad example. In Sweden, they call Britain Storbritannien. In France, in French, they call us Le Royaume-Uni. Germany is Germany to us. It's Tyskland to Swedes. It's Alemannia to Frenchmen, but it's Deutschland to Germans. So where do we get off getting so high and mighty to not call Germany Deutschland? I mean, obviously it's ridiculous. Germany is just the English name for it. We're speaking a different language. We're using a different word. It's just like we call it Spain. We don't say España. And it's not that people have a foreign word for it. It's when people use that foreign word at the expense of the English word that gets on my tits, because it just speaks of such a snobbery and such a pseudo-intellectualism. That's the thing that pisses me off. It's pseudo-intellectualism that really gets on my fucking nerves. And whenever anyone says, "Oh yes, I'm going to Roma instead of Rome," or "I'm going to the Cote d'Ivoire instead of the Ivory Coast," I just think, why don't you just speak English, you freak? Why? And of course, if you point this out to them, because they think they're an intellectual, because they think they're enlightened, and they think it's right, because to use the foreign term, or otherwise you're oppressing the nation. And you point this out to them, they always act defensive and go, "Oh, you're so backwards," and it gets on my bloody nerves. It's kind of Inuit syndrome. Eskimo, you can't use Eskimo. I do use Eskimo. You can't use Eskimo, it's offensive. Oh, you have to use Inuit. Except Inuit's offensive too, because it refers to just one of the tribes of out of the, I guess you call them Native Americans. I'm not sure what, but the natives that live in the northern part of North America. Inuit is just one of the tribes' names. So it's like referring to an Englishman as a Frenchman, or referring to a Serbian as an Englishman because we're on the same continent. It's offensive. In a way, it's almost more offensive than Eskimo, because you're trying to go out of your way to sound, all correct and not offend anyone, and and look all clever, when actually you're being even worse because you can't even be bothered to find out a term which covers all of them. So yeah, basically, people using the foreign terms for things when there's no need to, it just smacks of snobbery, and I hate it.